This was about 5 years ago, autumn. My mate, Liam, and I decided to take a long weekend camping trip up in the Peak District. Or maybe it was the Appalachians. The specific park blurs now. The feeling is what's sharp. We wanted proper isolation, you know? Away from phones, emails, the whole bloody lot. We drove for hours, deeper and deeper into the winding country lanes, miles past the last proper town. The spot we found was perfect, or seemed it. A small clearing, ringed by ancient-looking trees, thick with moss. Nobody for miles. We set up the tent, got a fire going. Standard stuff. The air was crisp, smelled of damp earth and wood smoke. As dusk settled, the silence was immense. Not just quiet, but heavy. Like the air itself was holding its breath. That first night was fine. Uneasy, maybe. But we put it down to being city folk out of our element. Odd noises, twigs snapping just outside the firelight, a rustling in the undergrowth that seemed too deliberate for a fox or a badger, but nothing concrete. We drank a couple of beers, told stupid stories, and eventually crawled into the tent. I woke up abruptly around 3 a.m., pitch black. The fire had died down to embers, and the silence was gone, replaced by something else. A low rhythmic sound, almost like chanting but guttural, indistinct. Far off, maybe? I held my breath, straining to hear. Liam was dead asleep next to me, snoring softly. The sound seemed to drift on the wind, sometimes closer, sometimes further. It wasn't human singing, not exactly. It was deeper, rougher, like rocks grinding together, but with a weird cadence. I told myself it was the wind in the trees, maybe some weird echo from a distant farm. But my skin was prickling. Every hair on my arms stood on end. I didn't sleep much more that night. The next day, we went for a hike. We followed a barely there trail deeper into the woods. The trees here were older, bigger, twisted into strange shapes. Sunlight struggled to get through the canopy, dappling the forest floor in eerie patterns. There was a weird lack of wildlife sounds. No bird song, no squirrels chattering. Just our footsteps crunching on fallen leaves and that heavy, waiting silence again. That's when we found it. Tucked away, almost hidden by overgrown ferns, was a small, dilapidated stone structure. Not a cottage, more like a shed or an old shepherd's bothy. The roof had partially collapsed, and the single wooden door hung open on rusted hinges. Curiosity got the better of us. Inside, it stank. A thick, coppery metallic smell mixed with damp decay. It was small, just one room. Empty, mostly. Dirt floor. But in the center of the floor, there were marks, scratches, gouges in the packed earth, radiating outwards from a central point, like something had been dragged, struggling, or tethered, and the smell was strongest there. Liam pointed to the far wall. There were symbols crudely scratched into the stone. Not letters, not anything recognizable. Jagged lines, spirals, shapes that seemed wrong, unsettling to look at, like they were trying to mimic something natural, but got it hideously twisted. Creepy, Liam muttered, his voice tight. Let's get out of here. I didn't need telling twice. That place felt wrong, suffocating, like we'd stumbled into somewhere we absolutely shouldn't have been. We headed back to camp, the mood considerably darker. Neither of us mentioned the chanting sound I'd heard, but the unease from the stone hut hung between us. We tried to brush it off, build the fire high, pretend everything was normal. But the woods felt different now, watched. As night fell, proper dark this time with cloud cover blocking the moon, the feeling intensified. Every gust of wind sounded like a whisper. Every shadow seemed to dart and shift just at the edge of vision. Around midnight, the sound started again. That low, guttural chanting. Closer this time. Definitely closer. It wasn't just wind. It seemed to be coming from multiple directions, echoing through the trees. Liam heard it too. His eyes went wide in the firelight. "What the hell is that?" he whispered, grabbing the small axe we used for firewood. We sat there, frozen, listening. The chanting pulsed, rising and falling. It wasn't words, just sounds. Awful, ancient-sounding syllables that scraped at the inside of your skull. Underneath it, another sound, a faint, rhythmic thump. 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 Like a slow, heavy drum beat, or something being hit against soft ground. Then, silence, abruptly cut off. The sudden absence of the noise was almost worse. The woods pressed in, suffocatingly quiet. Maybe it was just some local weirdos? I offered, not believing it for a second. Liam shook his head slowly, eyes scanning the darkness beyond the fire. That wasn't normal. We stayed awake for hours, feeding the fire, jumping at every sound. Eventually, sheer exhaustion started to win. We decided, stupidly perhaps, to try and get some sleep inside the tent. Zipped up tight, axe between us. I must have drifted off, because the next thing I knew, I was jolted awake by Liam grabbing my arm, his fingers digging in like claws. "Don't move," he breathed, his voice trembling. "Listen." I listened, and I heard it. Scratching, a light, dry, scraping sound. On the outside of the tent fabric, right near my head. Scritch, scritch, scrape, slowly, deliberately, like fingernails or claws dragging across the nylon. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it would burst. I couldn't breathe. We lay there, rigid, paralyzed with terror. The scratching moved slowly, methodically, around the side of the tent. Then it stopped, right by the zip. Silence again. Utter, terrifying silence. We could hear our own ragged breathing, the frantic pounding of our blood. Then, a new sound. A low snuffling right against the fabric, like an animal sniffing, trying to find a way in. Followed by a wet, guttural huff. Liam made a tiny, choked sound. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying for it to go away, for it to be a badger, a deer, anything explainable. But then it spoke. Or, it made a sound that was trying to be speech. A wet, rasping whisper right outside the tent flap. It wasn't the chanting. It was something else. Close. Personal. "Let us in." The voice was distorted, thick, like speaking through water or damaged vocal cords. It was barely recognizable as words, but the meaning was terrifyingly clear. Liam let out a strangled gasp. The scratching started again, harder this time, more frantic, near the zip, like it was trying to tear its way through. That broke the paralysis. Pure adrenaline surged through me. "Now!" I yelled. We exploded into action. Liam grabbed the axe. I fumbled frantically with the zip on the opposite side of the tent, the side away from the scratching. My fingers were clumsy with fear. The zip snagged. The scratching became a furious tearing sound. "Hurry!" Liam hissed, facing the other side, axe raised. The zip finally gave way. I scrambled out into the cold night air. The fire was just dying embers again. Liam scrambled out after me. We didn't look back at the tent. We just ran blindly into the dark woods, away from the clearing, away from that thing. Branches whipped at our faces, roots tripped us. We stumbled, fell, picked ourselves up, driven by sheer terror. Behind us, we heard a shriek, not human, high-pitched and tearing, filled with rage and frustration. It spurred us on faster. We didn't know where we were going. Just away. The woods were a black maze. We ran until our lungs burned and our legs screamed. Eventually, gasping for air, we collapsed behind a thick tangle of bushes, huddling together, listening, nothing. Just the wind sighing through the trees. The awful sounds had faded behind us. We stayed hidden until the first gray light of dawn started filtering through the canopy. We were scratched, bruised, clothes torn, utterly terrified, but alive. We cautiously made our way back towards where we thought the car was, avoiding the clearing, avoiding the stone hut. It took hours. We found the car eventually. The tent, gear, everything else was still back there. We didn't care. We jumped in, locked the doors, and Liam drove like a maniac back towards civilization. We didn't speak for the first hour, just the sound of the engine and our own shaky breathing. When we finally reached a main road, saw other cars, the relief was so intense it felt like physical pain. We pulled over and just sat there, shaking. We never went back. We reported it to the police, vaguely, strange noises, feeling threatened. They probably thought we were drunk or high. They sent a ranger out a few days later, apparently. Found an abandoned campsite. The tent was slashed to ribbons. Nothing else. No tracks they could identify. No sign of the stone hut. They couldn't even find the trail we thought we'd followed. I don't know what was out there. Was it connected to the hut? The symbols? The chanting? Was it human? Animal? Something else? That voice. Let us in. It echoes in my nightmares sometimes. I don't go camping anymore. I don't like deep woods, especially not at night. That heavy silence, the feeling of being watched. It's too familiar now. Sometimes, late at night, when the wind howls just right, I swear I can almost hear that guttural chanting on the edge of hearing. And I wonder, what would have happened if it had gotten inside the tent? What if we hadn't run? I don't like to think about it, but I do. All the time.